So today we were going to talk about the Brights one-room schoolhouse, which I attended for a couple of years. But a little bit about the schoolhouse. I'm going to pass this program. It looks like a blueprint, which it is, and it's one I made. I couldn't find any pictures of the Brights school. So this is a drawing of what the Brights one-room schoolhouse it looks like when I attended. You can pass that around. The interesting thing about the Brights one-room schoolhouse, of the schools I attended, that Brights one-room schoolhouse, the Montgomery School, the Ashland High School, the Ashland College buildings, are all torn down except for the Brights one-room schoolhouse. All the rest of the buildings I went to have been torn down and removed. Now, the Brights schoolhouse, my dad would have gone. Dad was born in 1892, and so he would have attended the Bright School until 2000, so probably 2 years, and then their family moved to the Smith farm over by the old Smith Mill. Do you know the history of the Smith Mill?
Yes.
Okay, so they moved over there. So Dad went for 2 years. Then they moved back in 2001 to this farm. And so then Dad went back to the Brights one-room schoolhouse. So he only went to Ackley a couple of years. But my mom, she was born in Hayesville and went to Hayesville grade school until she was 9 years old. And then they moved and bought what we call nowadays the Stoller farm.
Right.
And then Mom went the rest of her school year to Ackley school. And the interesting thing about Mom is that her dad, and Mom was her dad's pet for sure. Her dad wanted Mom to go to a better school than what Hayesville had. So he bought a 1913 Buick, and Mom drove it and took care of it for her dad. She knew more about that Buick and the maintenance of it than her dad. And she drove that to school and parked it and then they were called Topping Ford. And the car would sit there, and she'd stay with her sister sometimes for a whole week and then drive home. But I'm sure Mom, and this would have been she graduated in 1918, so 1914 or so. I'm sure she's one of the first girls at least, to be driving a car to high school.
Right.
But in the Brights one-room schoolhouse, most of the one-room schools were built in the 1870s. And Anderson one-room school, which is the one at 242 where it makes the turn when you're going towards Mansfield, that one-room school was built in 1873. And I don't know what the award was, but it got some kind of an award for being the first in this area. I do not know the dates when the Brights one-room schoolhouse was built, but the fact that most of them were built in the 1870s, probably in the 1870s. So Mom never went to Brights, but Dad did. And he went to Ackley's and Brights. So we pick up the story now. I was born in November 1931. I started one-room schoolhouse, Brights, when I was 5 years old. I think back now, I wish she'd held me back. I think high school and all would be a lot easier for me if I'd been a year older. I couldn't find a picture, and I have it someplace. I mentioned to Dan when he asked me about coming today. I said, yeah, if I can find the picture. The picture of my first grade, I can't find it anyplace. And I remember putting it someplace so I know where it was at. So much. But the picture I'm going to pass around, it's written, it's a Bright School, 1938, 1939 school year. I'm in the second grade. And although there's no names on here, maybe afterwards I'll go over and I can name everybody for sure, except 3 people. I can name them, but there's a question mark if I'm correct or not. The rest of them I'm correct. But you saw a picture of the one-room school, and we had one teacher, Miss Whistler, and in my class there, in that picture, there were 15 of us from first grade to 8th grade. And I don't think there's any first grade in that picture. I think second graders were. And you can see Howard Steigerwalt right down in front. Right there, hard stagger wall.
Oh, that is so great.
So we can look at that a little more later.
Oh,
So I
that's so
started in
wonderful.
1931, and there were 3 of us in the first grade.
That's great.
Bonnie Sloan, Bob Mockerman, and myself. So I'm the only one left out of those 3. So just some things about going to school that different than what it is now for sure. If we're sitting in class, and as little kids in the first and second grade, we got to sit around the wood stove. And so we were never cold in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
Dan's dad used to cut wood for the grade school when he went there to burn. But
Dad said his job was in the winter on Sunday night, he would go up to school and stoke up a good fire late Sunday afternoon
Wow.
and get the fire started so they'd have coals in the morning.
how did you suppose he went back and forth? 8th grade.
I guess he just walked
Or
up,
less.
didn't he?
Huh?
I assume he just walked up, didn't he?
I don't know.
I would think so. Yeah, that's
Far away.
Probably so.
just about a mile. I'm sure he did.
But some interesting things while they're teaching. The teacher would have different classes come forward, and there was always vacant desk right at the front of the school. I'm calling the front where the blackboard is, and so she would say, in my case, in that to tie into the picture, okay, you students in the 2nd grade, come up front now, and we'd go up front and take care of our homework, whatever she had questions we asked. When she was done with us, we'd go back, and then she'd bring up 3rd grade and 4th grade and whatever. And each grade only had, if they had anybody, it would be 1 or 2 in the class, the way she taught it. One of the interesting things, if you're sitting there in school and you have to go to the bathroom, you hold up one finger, and if you had to do the other way, you held up 2 fingers.
That's where number 1 or number
We
2
never
came
thought
from.
anything about it. That's just,
I never knew
you know, we didn't laugh, we didn't giggle. That's just the way it was.
Oh my goodness.
That
That's
way the
so
teacher knew.
interesting.
And outside we had 2 outdoor toilets. One marked boys, one marked girls. At Halloween time, it was a favorite thing for the 8th grader to upset the toilets.
Oh.
Especially the girls' toilet. It always went first. So Dad digs a couple holes on each side and put locust posts down in and bolted the toilets to the post. And so they were not upset anymore.
Oh, that was smart.
He had girls, that's why.
now, the
He
school-
knew girls didn't like that.
The school, of course, had no drinking water either. So drinking water for the Bright School came from a spring on the first farm. I can't tell you who owned the farm now.
Rudy. Rudy?
Homer Crone's first wife came from that farm.
Rudy.
Was it Smith?
Did Rudy
No,
find?
no, that's too late.
Was it Smith?
No. Anyhow, the first farm at the time, first farm on the left as you go up 1600.
Is that where the boys would swipe watermelons? You don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I do. I'm afraid I do.
Great idea.
The guy who shot a
He
shotgun.
just got caught.
Anyway, that's another story.
Dad always said that they thought that man knew what was going on and he planted extra watermelons because of it.
That was nice.
You know, I got to talk to that man later years. He was a janitor at Mars's. And I
Okay.
told him I was one of the guys in the watermelon patch. At any rate, back to Bright School. For drinking water then, we went to the farm, and it was always an honor to get to go, especially at our age. And 2 boys would go, we'd take the bucket of water, we'd dump the bucket out, we'd go down, and down in front of the house was a spring. We'd lift the lid and dip the bucket down in and fill it with water, and then walk back up, both of us, one on each side, because, you know, we're first, second graders
Right.
doing this. So I don't know, bucket wasn't, we didn't fill a bucket full, but it was heavy carrying it back. And we had a little table in the back of the school. We'd set the bucket, and there was a post that went on up, and about I don't know,
Big cup.
this high arm reach for a little kid was a tin cup. And that's, if you would need a drink, you got tin cup and went back to your desk. And put the cup back on the nail. So that's where we got our water, and that's the way we went to the bathroom. The church had a big, or the school had a big bell above the entrance. All the schools which were built, I think originally there were 17 schools built, one-room schools built in Ashland County.
17.
Montgomery, no, I mean in Montgomery Township,
Mm-hmm.
in Montgomery Township. And the schools, most of them were built in the 1870s. They all had a bell, and they ring the bell when the school's going to start, and they had, the times they ring meant something. Like one was school was starting, two was recess was starting,
Mm.
three is time to come in from recess, and that's the way you knew what to do. See, she'd just ring the bell, and we'd know whether we were going out or whether we were supposed to come in by how many times the bell sounded. For the Bright School. The Bright School, as well as all the schools, also had the community clubs that sponsored the school, kind of, and it was a group. And I'll come back to the community clubs too. In addition to that, when I was in second grade at Bright's, we got bell ring, and boys had been out playing softball. And we come in, and I'm walking across in front of the room, in front of the blackboard, and Bob Markham said, "Hey, Matt, catch!"
Oh,
And he threw me a ball, and I missed.
oh.
And I didn't catch it. The ball hit the blackboard right behind me, and the blackboard came down, hit my head, and broke into a million pieces.
Oh,
Boy.
I was really hurt.
And that was Bob Mockerman.
And that was Bob Markham that threw me the ball. At our 60th high school class reunion, we laughed about that incident and talked about the Bright School.
Oh, goodness.
And basically, what a good start we had. We, at the Bright School, were quite concerned when Montgomery School opened in the fall of 1939 to go from a class of 2 or 3 into 30.
Oh, yes.
That was scary, real scary, but it worked out really fine. We were, for boys at least, I can't speak for the girls, but we boys were all farm kids, and many of us up through, like I said, up through the 7th grade before we had hot water in the house, shower, and bathroom. So maybe we didn't smell too good in school, but all the boys were the same caliber. And we all were farm kids, and we were amazed at the toilet, as I mentioned, and to have drinking water. Didn't have to go to the spring to get drinking water.
I thought it was interesting in the picture, the Bright School picture, most of the boys were wearing bib overalls to school.
Yeah.
But probably started
I
out
grew up with bib
with
overalls.
new bibs for the school, and
Yeah.
then as they got worn, you used them on the farm, wore them on the farm.
Mhm.
So when they built Montgomery, it had bathrooms in it, right?
Oh, yes.
Those bathrooms were in it, not just the locker room, but there was a boys and girls bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a drinking fountain. We were really taken away with the toilet and drinking
Oh, I
fountain in
bet.
How
school
modern that had to have been.
Mhm.
in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
But at Montgomery, I mentioned too, in the 3rd grade, which would be 1939, the Mr. Admiral Byrd's snow cruiser went through Ashland,
Oh.
and there's a picture of it. We can pass this around even. There's a picture of it in here. Picture, Bright School is 23.
And he was exploring the Arctic at that time? Is that
Pardon
what-
me?
Was he exploring the Arctic?
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Mm.
Oh, heck. Snow cruiser, 24.
Oh.
pass that
Oh
around.
my
That's
goodness.
Admiral Byrd's snow cruiser. Now, 250 was one lane in 1939.
Oh.
That was as wide as the road, and the tires on it were 10 foot in diameter, and it was
Oh.
about 60 some feet long. So it was really big.
Oh.
Mary Ann was in the second grade at
First
Osborne.
grade at Osborne.
Osborne.
First grade.
Oh.
First grade.
First grade. And I'm in
Wow.
third grade at Montgomery School. They left us out and stand along the road, and it went by. I was so disappointed. There's been a lot of publicity about the snow cruiser. There was no airplane on it. So we go back into the room, and Miss Zodi was my teacher. And Miss Zodi said, "Now, student, I want you to draw a picture of what you just saw."
Oh.
So I sit down and I do a picture very similar to that.
Wow.
I put an airplane on it.
Third grade.
She so liked my picture, she put it on the blackboard, and it was there the rest of the school year.
Oh, that's great.
I said, I wish I'd gotten it at the end of the school year.
That's something how big
But it was
that
there
thing
all
was.
year
Oh.
with an
Did you
airplane
draw
on
that?
it.
You didn't draw that in third grade. That was you did that.
I
in
said a
third
picture
grade?
like that.
Oh,
I put
okay.
an airplane on the snow cruiser,
Yeah,
and
because
I
it
did
should've
make
been
a
there.
3D.
Yeah.
I almost brought some of my drawings from first and second grade. I didn't bring them then, but Mom saved most of my
Oh,
drawings.
that's
I
wonderful.
I loved to draw
We're
when I was a
gifted.
kid, and I drew
Yes.
everything.
Oh.
But airplanes and cars and farm buildings mostly.
Oh, that's so great.
And I have all those that she saved for me.
How nice.
But I thought, well, that's not interesting. So anyhow,
It's not-
um, a sideline. I think we'll go back to community clubs. The Brights one-room school had a community club, and it was a sport group, obviously, and they met monthly. And the Brights one-room community club, one-room school community club, met the first Friday of every month. And I have a couple of little programs here. The program would be of people in the club that would put on singing or devotions or reading or singing Christmas carols the same way.
Oh,
They
that's
had
so
the same
nice.
one that your family
Uh-huh.
would have.
Oh.
But that's the Brights One Room School community activity.
Oh, how
And they would
nice.
support the school. And every year at the school year, there would be a I'll call it a banquet, a potluck really, at the school. And all the parents would come in with the kids.
That is so great.
I probably have told about everything that's very important about the Brights One Room School and the fact that it's the only one still standing. And I told Mary Ann just the other day, we should stop in and talk to the owner and tell him that I went to school here in 1930,
Sure.
Yes.
1937,
You should.
38,
Oh, yes.
39.
Recording.
Oh, that would be great.
It would be. I did bring pictures of fifth grade at school, and their names aren't all on the pictures. That other one I passed around the pictures of the kids.
So that
names
fifth grade is at Montgomery School then, right?
That's Montgomery School. And this one was the Bryce one room schoolhouse with us standing out in front of the school. And like you said, mostly bib overhauls. Lucille Fisher standing next to the teachers, the only one that I know that might still be alive out of that group of pictures.
Oh,
Plus me.
Lucille Fisher Harding.
Yeah, that'd be Craig
I should
Harding's
look that up and see if
mother, Debbie.
I should look that up.
Did he mention? How about that? I just wonder
So
how the school teacher did 8 grades. Did the 8th grade kids spend time tutoring or
I
working
wondered
with
that
the
too.
first grade kids? Or
Not
did
that
she
I know
kind
of.
of kept them on task? I would assume she surely would be teaching the same curriculum to first and second grade at the same time,
I would
maybe?
think. I would.
well, he said it being the youngest, you could hear the older ones getting there, and maybe that helped us when we got into that grade.
Oh, I'm
Mhm,
sure.
I bet it did.
But no, I don't really remember everybody coming back and helping me.
Well, I see this was Bright's Country Club.
Oh.
Mhm. And then this one says Bright's Community Club.
But every year, somebody had to put together a program, and also they'd appoint someone to be in charge of the fair display. And
Oh.
that was kind of rather a big thing from the community club.
Oh, I bet.
They really wanted that first prize.
Mm-hmm.
And we got in on, Marianne and I got in on that in the tail end. In the 50s, after I got discharged in 55, we got involved with the
That's nice.
decorations for the community club display in the Grange building.
This has a officer, Vice President Paul Bailey. Where was the Bailey farm?
Paul Bailey,
Yes.
the Bailey farm, I don't know the county road numbers, but if you go up here on 1775 and turn right just before 60,
Okay. The road that goes over to become George Road.
Mm.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, now you cross the road where Crones live on, keep on going. You go by 71, you go over 71. The next farm is a Bailey farm.
Okay.
There's houses there
It
now.
was on the right
But if you
side.
go just a little bit on the right hand side,
Okay.
and that's where Harold Crone was kind of a draft dodger, and he came from Cleveland and lived there at the Bailey
Sounds
farm.
like it is.
And I used to
It's
work
on
for
tape, too.
Crohn's from 10 on. I did some work for Arthur Crone, and I helped weed corn, threshed there, picking up the bales out of the field, and their first child was born in the house that's there, the small house, and I think the small house is still there.
Oh, I
The
see.
bank barn was too steep, and the tractor couldn't push the thresher into the barn. So Arthur gets his team out of the field and unhooks a wagon, takes his team in, and I could draw a picture of this. I see it so clear in my mind.
Oh.
He hooked the horses to the back end of the thresher, and the tractor's down here pushing it, and the horses are in the barn pulling it. Those horses pulled so hard, no lie, their belly was almost on the ground.
Oh.
They
Oh.
really, they pulled that thresher in.
Oh my
my.
goodness.
Oh my gosh, that team! Like I said, I can make a sketch of that.
Oh.
It's so indebted.
That is so interesting. Oh.
But I remember reading someplace sometime they had 25 students at the Bright School. We had in my class we had 15 one year and 18 the other.
Wow.
But my grade was always 3 in my class. First grade, 3 of us. I'll tell one other story, I guess. In the 8th grade at Montgomery School, I gave a girl a little gold necklace with a cross on it.
Oh.
Bonnie Sloan. She was one of the first graders. At our either the 60th or 65th high school class reunion, she came up. She said, "Do you remember this?"
Oh.
Oh, my.
I didn't remember it.
Right?
Oh.
You know where they lived up here.
And she just passed away.
Oh.
April just passed away just a few weeks
On
ago.
the other, right, the other side is
Oh my
71.
goodness.
Yeah, okay.
But the other things was that the Bright Community Club, every June was a strawberry festival.
Oh. How
I'm
nice.
kind of jumping around here as I remember things.
Mhm.
But
That's so nice.
yeah, every June was and you had ice cream and strawberries. And Rod Sloan, Bonnie Sloan's father, he had a great big strawberry patch and he
Oh.
usually furnished the
Oh,
strawberries.
how fun.
Where would you have that?
Well, at the different homes.
At the different homes?
Oh.
I can't say the year. Mom and Dad had the Bright's Strawberry Festival in this house.
Oh.
They had 101 people here.
Oh.
I remember as a kid sitting on the top step and the new stairs going up.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the stairs were full of kids.
Oh.
With two on a step.
How
And that
fun.
was Mom used to talk about that. It was the most that she ever had entertained.
That's a
Wow,
lot. That's a
that was
whole
a-
lot.
And you put 100 people in your house today.
Yes.
That's a lot of people.
Uh,
Do you know how the schools, should I say, were governed? Was there, when they had the one-room schools, was there a township school board or?
yes. There were,
And then they obviously hired a superintendent that probably.
I'm not well on that. There was,
Yeah,
Dad
well, he
was
would've been a kid.
Dad was on the school board.
Was he on a Bright
but-
school board or a county school board then?
Township. When
Okay.
they built the Montgomery School, that was a township, Montgomery Township. And that closed 11 one-room schools that were still operating.
Hey,
out
I've
of
seen the name Windbegler in here. No.
Aquila Windregler.
Was that, if you go up to Mockerman's Corner and turn left, was that down there?
No. Aquila Windregler lived right across the street from where we built our house on 511.
Okay, because I'm thinking Don Windbegler in his later years lived on
Right.
60 over there. Okay.
I don't even know how they were related. Do you?
You know, here's an interesting thing. In 1952 in the program, the exchange students from Germany.
Oh.
And at Myers, didn't you have a man from Germany that worked?
Yeah,
Carl
Sprockel.
Sprockel.
And
Carl
what was
Sprockel.
his story?
Carl Sprockel was born and raised in Germany, and he was kind of forming a company of his own, and he would be selling and handling Myers industrial pumps.
Oh.
Okay.
And he was here 3 months, maybe, honey.
oh, she's a couple
We
different
became
years.
friends with him. He had a baby while they were here, and he was an American citizen.
Oh,
And
yes.
Carl Sprockel, in his German language, English, he was so excited to have an
Aw.
American boy.
Oh. That
Yeah.
would be
And
exciting.
we
his
stayed
wife-
in touch for a long time.
And
but-
his
Oh.
wife, Merkel, was her name. Her grandfather invented, or great grandfather, the Bear aspirin.
Oh, wow.
So we think they had money.
Yeah,
I
Bear
bet.
aspirin.
And they didn't live in a big city, so they weren't bombed out and didn't get killed.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Honey, one thing you forgot to mention about Bright's, about your dad having the first school bus for Bright's kids.
Oh.
There were no school buses. Kids just got there by walking, basically, or bicycle. Earl and I always went to school, walked or bicycle. And an interesting thing about that, coming home, I was too proud to walk my bike up Mockham's Hill. So Earl would go up and watch for cars, and I'd zigzag all the way up Mockham's Hill like this. So I could, I rode my bike home all the way.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, but
That's
in
great.
bad weather, and this is even before my time, Dad had a smaller truck, and he put like picnic benches in it, but just the bench part,
Uh-huh.
two rows,
Oh.
and he would pick up kids on this road, and take them to school and pick them up
In his truck, he did
in
that.
his truck.
Wow.
Oh
Yes.
my word!
Um,
How'd you get? He took the back.
he had a small. It was
He probably built some
a
stuff.
small Chevrolet. It wouldn't be much bigger than a pickup truck today.
Okay.
And he had a wooden
Oh,
platform
wow.
on the back, and he took kids to school.
How was the
He
heater
took-
back there?
But yeah, but um,
Oh.
and when I was in the second grade, so 37, 38, 38, 39. So in 38, they bought school buses,
Oh.
the Bright Township school buses. And Dad, as president, also was responsible and bought the school buses when they built the Montgomery School.
Oh.
The thing I like to remember, because I was always with my dad, he dickered down at Dronesville and Ashland on school buses, and
Oh.
ended up buying school buses from the Dronesville Chevrolet dealership.
That is so great.
I don't know how many seats. It wasn't real big, but it was $1,700 for a bus.
Oh.
That was a lot.
And I suppose that was
Yes.
probably for 20 kids or so. It wasn't one of these great big buses, but
Well, do you recall, have you told me the story, maybe I read it elsewhere, about Rousburg initially not wanting to go into Montgomery School?
Rousburg School, and you can see it on the right, it's still standing today as you go into Rousburg. They voted not to join the Montgomery Township School. And the same thing with
Those harpsters.
the vote for the Montgomery School failed the first time,
Oh.
and they both failed for one reason. And the reason they failed, the school community did not want to give up their community clubs.
Oh.
They were afraid that once Montgomery formed the community club, which was you didn't have television, a lot of
Right.
people didn't have radio.
Mhm.
It was an activity that everybody looked forward to every month. And they were afraid that if they built the school,
They would
the,
lose
the
that.
community clubs would go away, which of course they did
Mhm.
eventually. But that was the reason Rousburg voted it down not to join. Well, then, as the school was built, it looked like a pretty doggone nice school back in 38 while it was being built in
Oh,
39
yes.
versus a one-room school. So then they took another vote in Rousburg after the school was almost ready to open and say, yeah, we'll come in on it. Now, I don't know about the finances, how
And
that
did
was
they have
worked
to
out.
then immediately start and design in addition to the building?
No, the building was built when Rousburg decided to come in.
Okay.
And it wasn't designed for that many kids. It was designed for 252 people or something like that, students. And it was clear full when it was built as a result of Rousburg coming in.
Oh.
And Dad took a lot of criticism, well, there's no room for growth. Well, there wasn't.
Right.
And I don't know what year they put the other
In
wing
the
on
fifties,
that.
they put the
But
addition
Oh,
on.
do you have your book? Was that tell about it?
what year?
It was in the fifties sometime. I got. Let me go get
Debbie
that
has
book.
a book
Yeah.
on that.
I don't know if I have one up here.
At any rate, the community clubs caused 2 times problems for Dad because the vote didn't go through.
Oh.
And the community clubs were really very popular, well attended. No, by well attended in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Oh, yeah.
Type
Well, to do
number.
that every month.
Yes.
yeah, every month.
I
And,
think what a
and
big deal that must
Right.
have
I remember my dad
And-
saying he looked so forward to it, you know?
yeah,
And neighbors
Oh.
really meant a lot to you
Yeah.
at that time, and
and it was basically our 3. We had a good time together,
that's so
but we
great.
never did anything bad.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, the addition was put on in 1951.
51.
That was the
Oh,
2-floor addition.
And enrollment that year was 359.
This thing.
Wow.
The school was designed for 250. During the year 1939, it opened in. It was 2 weeks late opening in the fall of 1939, but teachers, including the principal, would come to the farm, and Dad would interview them. Right when he saw them, and lots of times the teachers would park their car out here and walk back to whatever field Dad was working in,
Oh,
and he would
wow.
interview them.
An interview.
And then they had school board meetings darn near weekly while they were building the school. And they met, all the farmers went to town on Friday night. That was a given. And so, since the school board's all farmers, they met in a room on the Center Street up above the printing place now.
The what place?
Printing place.
Where
Oh,
you get printing supplies.
Arts printing, arts printing.
I don't
On
know
Center
what it is.
Street?
On Center
Oh.
Street?
At any rate, on
You said
Center
Center
Street,
Street?
right across from Farm and Home.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
And
Irwin's.
it's,
Irwin's. Yeah.
Irwin's?
Yeah,
Office?
Irwin's.
Okay.
Irwin's. It was above there. They had an office. And they meet every Friday night.
Late.
And we'd sit and sometimes we would sit until after midnight. Mom, me, Esther, and Vera.
Oh.
Oh my.
oh, you'd sit and wait
Yeah.
for him?
Waiting for him to come out of the meeting.
Oh my.
Oh my
In the
goodness.
car?
Every
Did you stay
Saturday
in the
night,
car?
winter or summer, in the
Oh
car.
my.
And
Oh.
sometime Dad tried to park on
Imagine
Center
entertaining
Street.
boys
And
for-
then when they put the
Oh.
parking meters in, he was really mad. And so as we're ever, Richie's quit buying groceries in town. They went to Worcester
Oh,
because
of
of
that.
parking meters. And Dad then would park in the parking lot.
Oh,
B parking, is it? Barbie?
The Ashlands, B parking.
How much time I So, yeah, oh my gosh, I remember those long nights waiting on
Uncle
Dad.
Junior, I brought out the picture, the frame picture there. I'm gonna tell Judy about that.
Oh. I'll pass this around. This is a quick sketch of how my dad used to make sugar, maple sugar.
Oh, wow.
With the tractor and the sled to pull it.
Oh,
And I just couldn't wait to get home from school. And
that is
I'd jump off the
great.
school bus and never miss a beat running back to the
Oh, that's
to
great.
the sugar camp, they called it,
Oh.
where Dad
Can I
was.
take a picture
And
of this with
Dad, the Richies, Charlie Ritchie,
Yes.
he'd be back there.
Oh, that's so great.
And that was done in conjunction with the Richies. That it was part of their woods too.
Yes, it was part of their woods too.
So who
We
all
did
was
Sam
part?
Ritchie's woods and Dad's.
I love that.
I think they imposed a little bit on the old Stoller farm because nobody lived on it for years.
What a talent.
Oh, it was a band.
It was
it
abandoned.
farmed?
No,
It just sat there.
it just sat there
Oh
for a
my.
number of years.
Was that sugar shack building big enough? Could you walk back into that, or was it just a?
Yes, I'm probably a little too small, but you could walk back into it. But as it rotted away, it got lower and
Well,
lower
that's
and
what I
lower.
remember as a kid. That
And-
structure was still there.
I show concrete blocks there. I don't know what they had there, to be honest. I think it was concrete blocks because I remember blocks up here. They were all black on one side.
Did you have chairs inside, or just some logs to sit on?
We had it, I showed there, mostly the picnics, the bench that belonged to the Ackley Club.
Oh, the Ackley bench was there.
Ackley bench and table. And
Okay.
table were there.
I cannot.
Outside, not inside.
Yeah.
What a talent you have. You just.
Isn't he a great artist? He just whipped that
Yes.
up.
Oh, that,
Well,
Oh,
it was last
That's
year
beautiful.
we had a really nice 50-degree day that I needed to gather sugar water. I took the day off from work. And I called Uncle Junior and he came out and drove the tractor. And it was after doing that that he went home and
oh.
put that together in a short
That
period
is
of time.
amazing.
I've always liked to draw. Even
I
in
love
high school,
it.
I got my, as I said, I got my drawings from Mom. There's airplanes and farms and cars. And
Did
trucks.
you ever get in trouble in school for not paying attention and you were drawing and drawing pictures? Did you ever get in trouble in school for that?
I think he did.
No, I don't think so.
You were probably a very good student.
I wasn't smart enough. That's the reason I wish I'd been held back one more year.
Oh,
But
Now they hold the kids back for sports and athletics.
yes. Right.
You start your kid a year late.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what they do now.
I don't ever remember getting in trouble other than in algebra class with Gracie France.
No.
I had to stay after school because you had to quote what she said word for word,
Rules.
Oh.
and I screwed up.
And algebra you had to report.
Oh
Yeah,
my
we
goodness.
But Bob Mockman used to say, I never got paddled in school because my dad was president of the school board.
Oh. Well, there has to be some advantage, right?
For those long
That's awesome.
meetings.
That's funny.
On a sad note, however, one day in the 6th grade, Paul Carlisle, who was our principal, he walked in and he went to Mrs. Pfeiffer and said something in her ear, and the two walked out. And then Paul walked back in and he went to Norma Dushel's desk and said something to her, and she got up and went back and got her coat and walked out with the principal. Paul was the principal. And then pretty soon the teacher came back and she said, they just got word that Norma's brother was killed in action.
Oh.
Yeah, this is World War II, so this
Oh.
I was sixth grade, and
Mm.
I don't know, without counting what year it was.
Mhm.
46 is a guess.
And Mr. Carlisle was our principal when we started.
No, it
in
wasn't
elementary
46. That's too early. Back.
And he was old.
And when
40
he
to
would
41.
walk, the principal would walk into the cafeteria while kids are in there eating, and it would go totally silent.
Oh,
You didn't say a word.
the respect
I
was
kinda-
there.
I kind of think, and I can't say this is true for sure, but I kind of think Paul Carlisle was one of them that walked back and talked to Dad, and Dad liked him.
Oh my word.
And hired him.
I think.
Oh, wow.
Barbie,
But,
you better give your dad 10 or 15 minutes to get his stuff.
well, I've said everything I know what to
Or I
say.
can just
other
take
than
your
answering
car
questions.
and come back, or they can
Well,
take you home, or
Well,
Well, I'm done, Barbie.
You've said it all.
I've said it all.
doubtful.
This has been a treasure for me. I hope you know how much I
Oh,
appreciate it. This has been a wonderful day.
Thank you.
I mean it. Oh,
Well, for me too.
just
I-
such a gift.
lots of laughs today.
Oh,
Lot of
such a blessing.
endorphins.
Well, I tell you one thing. I love coming back here.
I bet you
Yeah, I'll
do.
look and see if I can find
Oh,
it.
I bet you
And I'll
do.
share it with you.
It's so.
Yeah.
And these two are my favorite aunt and uncle.
I bet.
I'm the only one.
My favorite parents.
Yes.
Oh.
I had to laugh. Steve Steigerwalt spoke at Howard's funeral and said, "I'm his favorite son."
Yeah.
He said, "Now I never heard Dad say that, but I said it quite often." I
I've
told him that.
never met him. That guy's hilarious.
Oh, he is, and always was. When we were little kids and we'd be at Grandpa and Grandma Tucker's, Steve Steigerwalt would try to talk me in. If you lay on the railroad and you lay real flat, the train will go right over you.
Well, I just heard a story from David Harpster
Oh.
about when Steve and Sherry went down to visit you.
Yes, yes. When I was living in North Carolina, I worked for American Red Cross, and I loved living down there. And he was going through a divorce from Donna.
So
his
this is
first-
your cousin.
Yes, my cousin Steve. So they came to visit me, and the one part of town was a really rough part of town, the tattoo parlors and all this. And my sister Sherry came back, and Steve was saying, "I couldn't believe some of those tattoos they were putting on people." And Sherry said, "Well, like what?" And he said, "Well, that one that said MFer." And she said, "Massey Ferguson?" She didn't see anything wrong with that.
Well, Dave told the story that you went out to dinner and he told the waiter of the restaurant that he was Mormon.
Yes.
And you,
I
and you
was-
two were his wives?
Yes, I was his latest wife.
I love that guy.
He just is such a character.
Oh, these are for you to keep.
Oh, those are our pictures?
Yeah, those are
Oh,
yours.
those
You
are
can
our
keep those.
pictures.
And my mom only had one brother, and he died young of melanoma. He was only 36, I think. And he was a lot like Chuck. Aunt Dee always said, "My son Chuck, or my son Steve is Chuck
Is-
living on."
Oh my.
Ornery, ornery. Oh, that is such a great drawing. I
Oh,
just
no,
love it.
Sure been fun, Debbie.
Yeah, well, this has been
Yeah.
wonderful for us. Anytime we can get together like this,
Oh.
it's just a
Thank
treasured
you.
moment, you know.
Thank you for including me. I can't thank you
Yeah, you're
enough. This has been
welcome.
wonderful.
It has been. It's
Oh.
been fun.
Just a very nice day.
Okay, Papa. What's going on?
Uh-oh.
She's, oh boy.
Oh,
Tell him the line.
I
Watch
go.
out.
Oh.
Somebody's got to get it moving. You won't.
Now, where in Ashland do you live?
Oak Brook.
Oak Brook.
Fifth house on, fifth driveway on the left as you turn on, off of Mifflin onto
Okay.
Oak Brook.
That's a
It's not
beautiful.
bad.
I would love to do
Well, that's
that.
something else. He built 2 houses over the years too.
Yeah.
Wow.
We built the
Oh,
house on 511. Was it the fifth house on the right? The fire chief lived there for a while.
oh,
After we sold it.
Elaine
Yeah.
and what was his name?
Mark.
Mark. Mark.
Burgess.
Burgess, they
Burgess.
bought our house from us.
I see.
We built that, that's all. And then we built a house on Blossom Lane.
Oh, Blossom
Right
Then,
Lane.
across
then we downsized to a condo when I got old.
I see.
We lived
It's smart.
cattywampus from Bud and
I
Tudor
don't know,
Aikman on
Oh,
Blossom
yes.
and Wyrick's, Dr. Janice.
Oh,
Where was
yes.
it?
Nice
Neighborhood.
neighbors.
I did
Oh.
architectural engineering and
Oh,
trained in it, and I
Don't
got
sit down,
10
Barbie.
buildings that's built downtown.
that's
Elks
great.
2,
Oh,
the library 1, Fairboard 2, Mars is 5.
oh my gosh, that's
Made
great.
the drawings, got permits, got 'em built.
Wow. That is, what a talent. What a talent.
I just like to draw.
I love it.